Hello and welcome to this short video on how to create an export marketing plan. It's a guide for BSOs that should be used together with the template that you can find and download on this website. All of this material, by the way, can be used free of charge. If you use it within a SIPPO project, please credit the author. And when used outside of SIPPO, please also refer to SIPPO. So there are many reasons to make an export marketing plan. For companies, obviously, it's to get a deeper knowledge about themselves, to create clear goals and strategies, and to use the plan for investors, for banks, etc., that will need this kind of document before they give out any loan. As a BSO, this export marketing plan would be a great service that you can give to your member companies. You can assess the level of maturity of the companies that are in your membership, to see what kind of needs they have, and to select some of them perhaps for a trade fair. At this point, you should open the template of the export marketing plan, the Word document, and then you will see various sections. Those sections we will discuss briefly in this video. They are the company profile, results, exports, mission, buyers, the unique selling points and marketing. This is all part of the internal analysis. Then you would have an external analysis where a product-market combination would be looked at, trends, requirements, trade barriers, and the competition. The third section would be a SWOT analysis and confrontation matrix. And the fourth section would be the actual export marketing plan, where after looking at the product-market combination, the objectives, and the marketing mix, you'd get to a detailed action plan. So when you've opened the Word document, which is the template of the Export Marketing Plan, or EMP, you'd see on page number 1, you'd want to write down the name, the logo, if they have one, and hopefully also a slogan. You could work on that later after everything is summarized of the company and it has a clear vision of what their unique selling points are, and then you're good to go. On page 3, you have the table of contents. Make sure to update that after they're done writing the export marketing plan. And then we'll start with section 1, the internal analysis. In section 1.1, we'd have the company profile. That's just basic information, as you can see, such as its website and number of employees, etc. Section 1.2 would be the company results. So how much do they sell? What profit do they have? And for the last 3 years, what kind of countries have they sold to, if at all any export is there already, and what kind of products, what kind of turnover. On page 5, we'd have the mission statement at section 1.3. And here you'd write in a few sentences what the company does, how they do it, who they do it for, what kind of value they bring, and what problem they solve for their clients. When you have that statement, that could be considered the mission statement. Also, it could be considered the positioning of the company. Point 1.4 lists the main current buyers, and number 1.5, this really requires some time, certainly for companies that are just starting out and don't have a clear sense. What are the unique selling points of the company? So how is that company different from other companies? In other words, what makes the company special? And when you sum that all up, you could probably find a nice slogan. Point 1.6 is the current marketing mix. There you'd look at what kind of products the company has, where they sell them, what kind of price strategy they have, what kind of promotion they do, what people policy they have, and also a policy toward the planet. And here, right away, it's a good idea to mention some strengths and weaknesses regarding these 6 aspects, because later you can use them very easily then in the SWOT analysis. With regard to point 3, current price strategy, if the company doesn't have an idea yet, then they should continue with the export marketing plan, and later it will become more clear. Okay, then section 2 would be the external analysis, and here we'd be looking at this product-market combination. So they need to do some market research online and look at the countries that would typically import the product that this company wants to export. Also look at what kind of value of import. You can very easily use the trademap.org website by ITC to find that and see if that trend is going up or down. If the company you support has a very special product, then definitely the niche would be important as well. to look at. What kind of niche markets would be interesting for that company? And in section 2.2, the company would look at the market trends and if that poses an opportunity or a threat. In section 2.3, you'd be looking at buyer requirements, both legal requirements, such as maximum residue levels or EUDR requirements, but also non-legal buyer requirements. And those would be, for example, what kind of flavors would be trendy or what kind of appearance the product should have, what kind of certifications perhaps are needed to be successful in Europe. All that also needs to be found out, and you can do that online or through interviews. And of course, a wonderful way to do market research is by visiting a trade fair. Sometimes European countries have arrangements with producing countries where tariffs are lower or non-existent. This could be based on the special relationship the country still has after the colonial period. A country could also be considered a least developed country and therefore be exempt from any tariffs or barriers. So here you would list the countries that have the least barriers for your exporters so that they can focus on those destinations that are most cost effective. In the last section of the external analysis, we look at the competition. In section 2.5, you and your company should write down what kind of buyers are there already in the countries identified. What kind of competition is there that is selling the same kind of product? Then how the company could possibly distinguish itself from the other suppliers, whether or not the market is saturated, and to what extent the company will have to invest in marketing to sell the product. So besides a description of these aspects, you would also analyze whether it be very little or a lot of competition, or little or a lot of investment needs. And there you'd also mark if it's an opportunity or a threat, later to be used in the SWOT. So section 3 would be the SWOT analysis and confrontation matrix. Here, first of all, we are going to be listing the strengths and weaknesses internally of the organization that you've been seeing already in the previous sections. We'll also list some opportunity and threats, which are outside of the company, trends, or national legislation, etc., things that they do not have any influence over. And then the matrix will confront these strengths and weaknesses with the opportunities and the threats. So in other words, in quadrant 1, in the upper left quadrant, the SO quadrant, you'd look at how the strengths of the company could capitalize on the opportunities that are there, but how the strengths could also overcome the threats that are out there. To combine weakness with opportunity, you'd look at how these opportunities could actually diminish the weaknesses of the company. And the quadrant that's usually the hardest one, which is the lower right quadrant, the weakness threat quadrant. And here you would look with the company to defend itself with its weaknesses against the threats that are there. Through this confrontation, you will come up with strategies for the company, how to deal with these opportunities and threats based on their internal strengths and weaknesses. And those you would list at the bottom of page 10. Now, if it's not entirely clear yet how to do such a SWOT confrontation matrix, then please look at some additional documentation. For example, there are great tutorials on YouTube that can explain how a SWOT confrontation matrix is implemented if you visit a company. Then finally, the last section, that would be the actual export marketing plan. We're going to conclude now everything that we've written down above. And here we are going to, in section 4.1, list our export product, our target market, and our strategies. So you're going to summarize basically the above exercises. In section 4.2, the company will look at its sales targets, what kind of volume, what kind of value, what kind of profit margins does it want, and what are its objectives for the number of new clients. In section 4.3 then, we're going to look at the marketing mix that it needs to reach these objectives of 4.2. So here they would look at the product, what kind of product they want to sell, or whether they need to develop the product any further, the place or the distribution channels that they are going to use or that they need to develop, also price, What kind of price will the unitary cost have when exporting just one container, and how that unitary cost will change when exporting a lot more. Typically, the unitary cost will decrease when volume goes up. And then you will have a cost price breakdown. What is that unitary cost in the country that it is going to export from? What profit margin is thought of and therefore would be the sales price, FOB, free on board? The next section on that same page, on page 12, would be the promotion section. And here they may develop a lot more promotion, a lot more marketing, listing, for example, an attractive message that the company wants to convey to its clients, other unique added value, track record that they have. Are there any testimonials, any clients that already can testify about a positive experience? What kind of capacity does the company have? What kind of compliance does it have to international standards? All that needs to be in the promotion section, and based on that, you can make brochures, create websites, etc. And so these are the tools already I'm talking about. So what kind of tool are you going to use? Well, it could be a brochure or a website, but it could also be to go to a trade fair. It could be to have a video and be active on social media. Look at the different promotional tools that the company can and is enthusiastic about using, and then make a plan where to do that, when to do that. Finally, people and planet policies also need to be listed, and those, don't forget, those should also go into the marketing tools. So the policy towards human resources and toward the environment are definitely more and more important for European importers. The export marketing plan concludes with an action plan. Here you refer back to the export objectives, what kind of strategies you've developed using that SWOT matrix, what kind of activities are associated with those strategies, and what kind of particular actions need to be taken. And that can be very detailed, such as I need to go to a photographer to get high quality pictures from the countryside that I can then use for my website. Also list the responsible persons for it, allocate some budget, and look at the time frame of the actions. That's all, folks. The export marketing plan should be updated, of course, from time to time. So tell your companies to sit down every year and adjust it so they have an updated plan that they can use for themselves, for internal use, but also to use when looking for investors or to get loans at banks. I hope this template of the EMP will help you as a BSO to support your company in its efforts to get its products onto the European market.